Good day, everyone. The topic that corresponded to us was a change in assets. Okay, the concept the statement of change in assets is watching the assets of a company, corporation, or society, various phenomena or moments typical of the commercial activities they carry out occur. That is why to take care of the assets, know their moments and financial situation, there are different documents or tools to determine everything that happens within the assets of a company. One of these documents stain of change in assets. Okay, what is the stain of change in assets? Equity, equity refers to the total of elements of a company while financing. Among these elements is the company capital, reserve account and income statements. It can be said the equities different assets and liabilities. The statement of change in equity is financial statement that quantitatively reflects the modification or change that a company's security has undergone in accounting year. The ACPA aims to make no other moments related to the company one funds. These financial statements brings together the accounts that directly reflect the new world. It shows the relevant information about it in simplified way so that the owners at partners know that they clearly see the evolution of a company. These data are collected at the end of the year. In this world, you can know this is the company as developed and advanced positively or if it has neutral profits or filing that negative profits. Okay, the interpretation of statements of change state. The statements of change in states allow us to know the total amount of the company kitty and the duration is had from one period another. It is necessary to interpret this various variation in order to understand what changed and why it changed. Let us remember that equity is the result of restoring liabilities to assets, and a decrease in equity could be an indication of an increase in liabilities or a decrease in assets, or a combination of the two assumptions. Consecutively change in equity shall not be analyzed in isolation, and the other components of the company financial structure should be studied. The increase in equity can be due profits, capitalizations, payment of liabilities, performance of assets, etc. It most importantly, equity can decrease due to loss in a year, which can lead to an increase in liability or the need to sell assets. And the interpretation of the statement of change in equity is about knowing the cause of the variation in order to make informed decisions according to obtain an expected result.
What is the Steiger or Sanger equity? It has two parts. The statement of recovered income and expenses It includes the Changer it educating derivative for the result of the profits and loss accounts and the income and express that according to the regulation must be attributed to equity. The total is made of Changer in equity include the different Changer derivatives for the estimate of recurrent income and expected variation organized by a transaction with the owner of the company or partner and the rest of the variation are small account adjusted.
Relevant points in the statement of change in assets. Subscribed and paid capital and number of shares. The capital of Enel Americas as of December 31, 2021 amounts to USA 15,799,499 represented by 107 billion 281,699,98,561 authorized shares. As of December 31, 2020, the capital amounted USA 9,763,078 and was represented by 76,086,307,036 authorized shares. This means this means that if had an increase in equity of 6,036,421 and all shares issued by Enel Americas and subscribed and paid for and admitted to trading of the Santiago de Chile Stock Exchange, the Chilean Electronic Stock Exchange, and the New York Stock Exchange. Own shares in portfolio. Our own shares in portfolio as of December 31, 2021 amount to USA 272 represented by 1,809,031 shares, which were acquired as a result of the merger process with EGP Americas. At an extraordinary meeting of shareholders of the company held on April 30, 2019, this year began with a capital of 6,763,204 in the equity, and it was approved to increase the capital in the equity of $3,020,721 for a balance in the same year of 9,783,875 that through the usage of 18,729,788,686 ordinary registered payment shares of the same series, without preference and without per value. The purpose of the aforementioned increase was to enable the subsidiary Enel Brasil to pay Enel Finance International (ENB) a loan contract with said entity, which in turn replaced bank debts associated with the acquisition of the Brazilian company.
Now I'm gonna talk about the reserve for exchange differences due to conversion. The breakdown by company of the exchange differences due to conversion of the parent company from the consolidated statement of changes in equity for the years ended December 31, 2021, 2020, and 2019 is the next one. As you can see the table, I'm gonna explain it a little bit. The exchange differences that occur in the translation of the financial statement are recorded in the item gains loss due to exchange translation differences. Within the consolidated statement of comprehensive incomes and other comprehensive incomes. Talking about the capital management, the objective of Enel Americas SA in terms of capital management, it is to maintain an adequate level of capitalization, which allows it to ensure access to financial markets for the development of its medium and long-term objectives, optimizing the return to its shareholders and maintaining a solid financial position.
Other reserves. The nature and movement of the reserves for the years in December 31, 2021, 2020, and 2019 were as follows. A. Reserve for Asian difference with the conversation. This is come mainly for Asian difference that original from the conversion of the subsidiaries that have a functional currency other than US dollar and valuation of purchase capital gains are raising for the execution of company with my functional currency other than the US dollar. B. Cash flow hit reserves. They represent the effective portion of those transactions that have been designed of cash flow age.